We say welcome to Ear Biscuits? Is that what we say for some reason?
Welcome to Ear Biscuits.
Yeah, it's like was welcome the first word? Because that seems really odd to me right now.
See,
something must have happened to me.
You're really fresh, man. What do you think it should be now that you're back from your solo trip? Just change it.
Greetings.
Greetings? Okay, do it. Greetings, that's it.
Greetings and welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time. I'm Rhett.
And I'm Link. This week at the round table of dim lighting, I'm gonna talk about the trip that I am fresh off of. I got home last night from 6 days of
bliss.
Van life, boondocking in the middle of nowhere camping, just me and my wife, some national parks, a lot of Utah, probably Mormons, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I didn't
statistically.
Just statistically speaking.
Right.
Probably ran into a few Mormons.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't run over anybody. I didn't run into anybody. Like there were no accidents. But I will say, on the last night, something happened to us that I want to tell you the whole story. I was so scared, okay? I'll just say that Christy and I both got really scared.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was just a strange story, and I just want to tell the whole thing, and that's why I texted you this morning. I was like, hey, I think if we're coming in here to record first thing, fresh off our trips, I think I've got, with everything I want to share with you, I've got a whole episode.
Yeah.
If it's okay for you to then have another episode, and I don't care who goes first.
Right, and so today we're gonna hear about your trip.
Yeah.
Next time we'll hear about my trip. I will give you just a short preview.
All right.
Which incidentally includes me being scared.
I was thinking about you a lot. I was like, I wonder. Okay, we'll get into it.
So,
okay.
But it also includes an update on the conversation / argument / debate.
Am I a competitive person?
That we turn into an entire episode. Yeah. I had some time to think about that, and I have I have some perspective on that. I definitely do not want that. Just trust me, it will not be a majority or even a significant part of the episode. It's just an update.
Are you saying this to me so I'm not scared?
No, I'm saying it to
to them.
I'm saying it to all the people who, some people enjoyed that conversation and some people didn't. You know, I even saw some people like, this is the first one I just had to quit listening to.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I totally get that because it felt like it was some people don't want to hear like what turned into a debate.
Yeah.
So I have just an update on some perspective that kind of came to me in the desert. And also just a summary of my trip and some other things that happened, but let's hear about yours.
But even right at the beginning of this, when you said greetings and you had a different voice. Is this your new Rhett voice?
I was playing into.
Okay.
Good. Are we gonna include?
Sure.
The part that
I think we did. Yeah, they heard it.
Yeah, I basically forgot how Ear Biscuits started. I mean, I literally forgot how it started.
I do have this feeling. First of all, I'm not totally awake. I had a coffee. I should have had a second coffee. I do feel like I need a day. Like the experience that I had and that Christy and I had that I share is gonna be very raw because I haven't fully assimilated back into life. I think that's what, are you feeling that a little bit?
Well, and I got home.
Getting home last night?
I got home last night even later than you did. Like I came home basically as the sun was going down.
6 days of camping. Turns out that's a long time. And I was not alone. I really wanna hear your experience because I've imagined a lot of it.
And we're gonna record mine tomorrow, so it's just one day apart. Okay. So it'll still be fresh. It'll still be fresh for me.
Okay. Well, just to give an overview of my trip, we ended up deciding we drove past Vegas, and when we stopped in Vegas and we we got something to eat. I mean, we just ate in the car. That's the great thing about this Sprinter van is that
what did you eat? Where did you stop?
Well, we were gonna go through the Raising Cane's drive-through.
I stopped at Raising Cane's in Vegas yesterday.
So did I.
No, you didn't.
Yes.
Hold on, you ate at Raising Cane's in Vegas yesterday?
No, 2 days ago. I'm sorry.
I ate at Raising Cane's.
When we were coming back through.
I saw the sign, I was like, oh, Raising
Chicken
Cane's,
tenders.
I gotta try this out. Everybody
Yeah.
Post Malone's into it.
Yeah.
And so I got it and ate it in my car.
Well, we were trying to eat there on the way, and then the Sprinter van would not go through the drive-through. So we had—
The Raising Cane's I went to, because I had my rooftop tent on, I thought about this, there was no overhang, so we went to different ones. I went to the one on the east side of Vegas.
I can't say which one I went to.
Because as soon as
I don't want to drive too much traffic there.
Because I was coming from the east, coming back home.
Okay.
And
well, there's more than two.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw the sign, I was like, well, I'm going there.
It's pretty good, right? I mean, it's like, I would say it's like Zaxby's, but a little better.
My opinion was the chicken is good.
Chicken is great.
The fries
Crinkle fries are, man.
Horrible. I thought the fries were horrible. I'm comparing them to Bojangles. And Bojangles fries are way better.
Suck, yeah.
Dippin' sauce was good, and we'd already had that. That's the only thing I've had. Slaw, bad.
Slaw was bad, yeah.
Tea, good. I got tea.
I didn't get the tea. Maybe I should have got
They didn't have a biscuit.
But Texas toast.
Oh, the Texas toast
that
was good, yeah.
That and the chicken tender.
I highly recommend it.
So we stopped there, but we're eating in the van. We're peeing and pooping in the van. We're washing our hands in the van. There's a shower. We could even shower in the van, but there's also a hose off of the back of the van where we ended up showering. And because
the shower on the inside is so small?
So small, and there's a toilet in it.
Oh yeah, toilet. Now,
toilet.
Are you going to talk about—
But it was hot water.
Are you going to talk about the pooping? Are you going to get into that?
Sure, yeah.
Because I'm going to get into that on my trip.
As time allows,
totally
we may have to throw
perspective.
back
Okay.
To my experience once I hear yours, because I would not say that's a highlight or something that I plan on talking about at length. But for me, I'm always game to talk poop. If you want to go
for me, it will not be an insignificant part of my story.
Okay. I'll just add some 2 cents at that point. But until then, I'm just gonna say, we stayed in the van. We got the Five Guys takeout. We took it to the car. On the way back through is where we went to Raising Cane's, and we figured out we could call them and they would bring it out to us. Yeah, and that's when we ate that.
I saw that sign.
And when we kept going from Vegas, from there we decided, I saw one of the Sklar brothers tweeted that they were at Zion. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm a direct message Sklar bros, haven't talked to them in a while, but we're like, they know who I am. And I said, I'm thinking about going to Zion, but I'm concerned about the crowds, the COVID regulations and everything, and I can't get on the shuttle. I have no shuttle reservation. And he said, well, you should definitely go do a private shuttle. You can pay, there's shuttle companies that go in, you just get one of those, and then you get on a private shuttle, they take you right, because Zion, and we ended up doing that. Mm-hmm. And he said, we did the Narrows hike. You should definitely do that. I saw the pictures. He had like a walking stick and these special boots, and he was like
For
wet.
real.
I was like, okay, we're gonna do this based on just direct messages tweet, because I was just gonna go to Bryce Canyon and skip it because less people go there and it's less regulated. Anybody can go in. But I began to understand when I got there to Zion, it's relatively small. I mean, when you compare it to like a Yosemite,
it's small
both been
on
there.
the map.
Yeah, it's this one canyon that, I mean, the Virgin River just cuts through this thing and it almost doubles back on itself, and it makes these like amphitheater areas. And to get up into that canyon, you have to be on a shuttle. So they just don't let cars go through there because they would jam up the whole thing.
Right.
And so that's why the shuttle thing is so important. So we get up and we made a reservation for 9:30 to be picked up. We go out there.
How much ahead of time did you have to call to make this reservation?
It was noon. It was noon the day before, and they had a few spots open on that shuttle. And so we went the next morning. We go out there, and the shuttle takes you all the way through to the back end of the park, where it's like it's a cul-de-sac, basically like a river-made, sheer-walled, like thousands of foot tall, like red-rocked mountain climber heaven type thing. I don't even want to try to explain it. You can look at the pictures and, it's like they always say, until you go, you really can't appreciate it.
Is it better than Yosemite?
It's so much smaller and so much different. It's like going to an attraction. You can really do it. I mean, you can spend multiple days there and enjoy it, but I felt like we just did that one day and we did the one hike. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna move on to Bryce the next day. We'll call it a travel day.
Which is a different national park?
Yeah. So just to tell you about the Narrows hike, you're hiking in the river, which is like, it has carved this deep chasm.
Yeah, this is the one you see on Instagram.
Yeah, and it's just absolutely amazing. Like, I can show you some of the pictures, but after you hike in a little ways, everyone's just getting in the river and there's no trail anymore and you're just hiking in the river. And it's usually like shin deep. Sometimes it went to mid-thigh deep on me and it was cold. And I was trying to get Christy like ready for it. I was like, you know what, she's like, we can turn back at any time. And this is before we get in the water. And I'm like, come on, we gotta do this. And
what kind of shoes did you have on?
I just had on our quick dry, low top shoes. We didn't wear our boots, but these people had
ones that we took to like Fiji?
No, not like water socks, just like hiking shoes, but low top. We didn't want to wear a high top because they would get real soggy. At least that's what we thought. I mean, people are renting like these waterproof hiking boots with like ankle support. You really do need ankle support and they give you a stick and you're supposed to use that to stay up. But like, I've walked in the river so much, it was easy to walk over all these rocks. It was like when we crossed the Cape Fear River, except the water was clear for the most part.
And cold.
And really cold, but you could turn your ankle and you could fall down easily. But I think we gained confidence when we saw like retirees trudging through this thing. And we were wearing a mask. There was a lot of people going up this thing, but it was a hike unlike anything else. And we go up there for a number of miles and it gets to a point where it gets really narrow. I mean, it could have been like 15 feet apart, like sheer 1,000 foot in the air, it seemed like. And it was like, and you're just walking up this, what I would call a stream. It's not really a river by that point. It was amazing.
Sounds like there could be a problem if it was to flood.
Yes, but they take all that into account in terms of, I guess they had confidence that there wasn't gonna be a flash flood.
Right.
Or they would have shut it down. And there were so many, I mean, even with COVID, there was a lot of people hiking there, but it was totally worth it. The next day, I'm gonna go through the park stuff now because what I really wanna talk about is the camping experience and then the story that happened.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was a super cool hike. I definitely recommend that for everybody. Like I was thinking the kids would have loved it once they got over the cold of the water, your feet get numb and then.
And this has gotta be though as warm as the water gets, you would think.
I would think so. It wasn't phased by it being, it was like in the mid 80s. Actually, it was in the low 80s. It was like perfect weather to be there.
Right.
And then, so we camped that night. The next day we took like an easy day of just camping, like getting going late, but then we drove to Bryce Canyon, which it was like you wind your way up out of Zion and you go through, when the tunnel was built through the mountain, it's like the longest tunnel in the world. At the time it was built in like 1920. And it was crazy. You're like going through the mountain on this tunnel.
How long are we talking
about? Like I'm gonna know that. I don't know.
Well, if it was the longest one in the world, it's gotta
like
be
10 minutes to get through it.
I mean, at least a mile.
Oh yeah, and we can look it up. I was driving, I couldn't Google. I was like, it's dark in here.
But 10 minutes to go through?
Yeah.
So several miles.
Yeah, I mean, we were going pretty slow. We were probably going, we're going 30 miles an hour, 25. Anyway, you wind up out of there and then you drive for like a little over an hour and a half and you get to Bryce, which is it's kind of like if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, you go in and it kind of feels the same because you're in the woods and you go to the edge of this canyon, you walk to the rim of it, and then it's all of these hoodoos is what they're called, like You know, if you make a sandcastle, the type of sandcastle people can make on the beach where they like drip sand and it like the sand just plop, plop, plops on top of each other. It's like that except done by erosion, not by addition. And they're just like these pinnacles of sandstone stuff just everywhere. And it's like a magical fairyland that you're walking down through. And so we did a hike down through there, and it's cool that it's so close. And it also was small, so it felt like I can see all of this in one day. I could hang out for a couple of days and really appreciate it, but I can also move on knowing that I got an idea what this national park's like, and I've done one of the most famous trails. So we did that the next day, camped that night, and then we drove back down, just to get closer to home, we drove down to the other side of Vegas. On this side of Vegas, there's a place called Red Rocks National Preservation Area. And it's like, so we looked at all that. There's like a cool scenic drive.
Is
right outside of like the mountains you see
on 15
from
on the main highway
to the west of Vegas. Like that mountain range there is like this Red Rock mountain range.
But you have to get off of the
interstate? Yeah.
Well, no, but is it like, just yesterday I drove that. And I was like, I'm trying to get home by a reasonable time, so I didn't stop at anything. Yeah. But I didn't see any signs for that. I saw like the Mojave National Preserve.
Yeah, it's
before that.
It's right outside of Vegas. Okay. Like literally if you go west out of Vegas, there's like these condos and like these, desert communities they built up that are like really nice, and then it turns into nothing. And if you go south around the Red Rock, that's where we camped the last night. And then instead of coming back down into Vegas, we went around and skirted the edge of Death Valley. It actually said it was faster from where we had camped the last night, where the story happened.
How hot, you're gonna talk about camping. I'm gonna ask you how hot it was.
I picked that place because it wasn't the hottest night, but everywhere I picked it was just trying to like escape the heat and anything that might be burning.
That's why I didn't camp near Vegas the last night, because I looked
outside
at the weather
of Vegas,
and I was like, it's gonna be like 105 during the day, and
that was the high, like down at like Vegas level. But then once you got into that like hilly, rocky area where we camped, I picked it because it was probably like a high of 85 there actually. Maybe 90, but then it wasn't uncomfortable at night. So we went there, and then we skirted the edge of Death Valley. We saw hot springs because I saw a sign, took like a 2-minute detour, dumped our crap and our water. Like literally we're talking about the crap later.
Well, hot springs?
Tecopa. It's just some little town, but it was just some guy at a booth. And then behind his booth, there's like a men's shack and a women's shack and showers, and then he let me look at it, and it was just like a pool, like it wasn't rustic in any way, and I didn't have time to get in. I was just curious. I needed to dump my crap and get out of there, and then we came home.
You mean they had pumped the water into like a tub?
Yeah, yeah. The water flowed in. There was a hot water pool, like it looked like a big rectangular pool, like 15 people could get in, but nobody was in it. And then there was a cold pool on the other side in another room, and you had to be nude, and it wasn't co-ed, so.
You only do nude if it's co-ed, is that what?
That's right. Right.
That's how you
right.
made that
like,
sound.
I'm out.
You see, you know what? I don't do either one on its own. It's got to be both.
But the main experience that I'm taking away.
I will talk about that, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I know you were aiming for hot springs, so I want to hear about that. My main takeaway was not the beauty of these parks, but it was the experience camping. So that's what I want to spend the most time talking about, and then telling you the story about how we got freaked out night before our last night there camping. So I'll get into all that. But first, let's promote some stuff.
You know what? We made a lot of merch when we wrote our book, The Lost Causes of Bleak
And we don't
Creek.
regret it. You sounded like you regretted it. We made a lot of merch, man.
No, I'm just saying, and it's going to be gone forever. And so it's in the last chance section of the mythical.com store. So if you want anything like the sweatshirt that Link has on.
Maybe gone right now.
Or, yeah, I know. I mean, it's in the last chance section. We're recording this a few weeks ahead of time. It could be gone, but go over there. That whole last chance section doesn't just have the Bleak Creek merch. It's got anything that we're discontinuing and not bringing back. For instance, I'm drinking out of this Good Luck with That mug.
Oh.
You know? This doesn't exist anymore. You can't buy this anymore, can you?
I don't think so, no.
You can't buy this anymore because we make a limited run of everything that we do. So.
Got to move on.
You know.
Got to keep going.
So good luck with that.
What lies ahead we have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But under our feet, baby, the grass is growing. Time to move on. Time to get going.
Is that a
That's a Tom Petty song.
Okay. Got it.
Mythical.com. Get your stuff last chance before it's over. Oh man, I gotta shave immediately after this. Like I want
itching?
Yeah, this is the worst phase. And I took my razor camping and I was like, who's gonna shave when camping? What kind of chump shaves when camping?
People who commit to long-term camping.
And also shave.
They do shave.
I think I would do that.
Yeah. I met some people. I met several clean-shaven people.
Oh yeah. Who were permanently, as Christy calls them, road travelers.
Yeah, I mean, like
she could not remember the word for hitchhiker. And we
like,
encountered this guy on a back road who he was just walking down, and I pulled over.
Clean-shaven?
I pulled over. He had a huge beard.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I was like, "Do you need any help?" And he had the most paranoid, guilty look on his face, like he just killed someone. And he was like,
I don't need any help killing anybody. I do it on my own.
And I was like, okay. And I was I don't know why I stopped and talked to you.
Yep. Did he? If he doesn't, if he's not like,
he was in the middle of nowhere, and he was walking.
Oh.
And usually my instinct is just to keep going, like let him eat the dust. But I was being very altruistic, and then I got a little scared.
That is a good point though, because I met a couple. Just a young couple that was moving. They were in the process of trying to move from New Jersey to California in a van.
Okay.
And they were like, these fires started, and so where we were gonna go is basically on fire right now. So we're kind of just hanging out. This was in Nevada.
Yeah.
And they had been on the road for like 3 weeks, and he was completely clean shaven, and I haven't thought about that at all. And he was not the kind of man who can't grow a beard. I could see the potential for a beard.
I think he was, you know,
he's just a shaver.
He had his destination in mind, and I think it's psychological. It's like, you know what, for that guy, I'm putting a lot on him, but I think, you know, his tie to the civilized world is him continuing to shave. And once he stopped shaving, he was giving up on his hope of ever reconnecting with society on the West Coast, where he was going to make a life for himself and I presume his partner.
Yeah, and the hashtag van life, and they were like
Sprinter van.
They were in a converted Astro,
a
four-wheel drive Astro.
No judgment.
And that had a pop-up thing on it, and I could tell by the way that the woman, his companion,
yes,
was taking pictures of like this hot spring that we were at and everything, and like waiting for the sunset, and like she went to the hot spring and she moved things around. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is a total hashtag van life. And like they're getting these really good pictures. I can only imagine what this Instagram is gonna look like.
Well, our van was, everything was, it had all the amenities, but the materials that they used to make everything were very rugged. It felt like you could just take a hose and hose everything off, because it's a rental. And I mean, they touted how much that they rigorously cleaned the thing.
Are you saying in
between people using it?
You, if you were to do your own deal, you would want like mahogany? What do you? What?
Yeah, the ones, it wasn't picturesque, because you start to think about hashtag van life as these people who put stuff on Instagram, and I was sitting in the back of the van on the day after Zion, when we were like, we're just gonna take this day. We're not gonna rush off the campsite. We're gonna wake up, we're gonna eat breakfast, we're gonna hang out here. Hell, we may even take a nap before lunchtime.
A late morning nap.
Yeah. Which we did. Yeah, never been done before. And then I was like, you know what?
That seems almost impossible.
Before yeah, I know, right?
Like, the whole hanging around in the morning, which for me ended up being the highlight, I'll talk about that, but never did it strike me that I should
take a morning
get
nap.
Back in the tent and take a nap. Like not even.
Well, it's different. The back doors of the van are open. This is a hashtag van life moment. You lay down in the bed, and then you stand up towards the cab at the driver's seat, and someone takes a photo through the back of the van at the scenery.
Did you take a bunch of photos that you're gonna post #vanlife?
Well, I said, Christy, come in here and take a picture of me. I was laying on the bed thinking about maybe taking a nap. She was outside reading a book and I was like, come in here, take a picture. And so she takes my phone, she comes right up to me. I was like, no, haven't you seen? Go back to the cab.
Gotta have some perspective.
You wanna shoot past me. And then we tried to do that and then I looked at the pictures and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna blame Christy for this.
Yeah, it's an art.
It's the decor, it's so many things have to line up for it to be #taggable van life. And let me tell you, it was not worth it. Because that right there.
I think it ruins the enjoyment.
It proved to me how much of a, if you get really good at it, you can probably do it quickly, but it takes a lot of practice to look like you're cool out there.
When this woman went to the hot spring, she just moved a bunch of stuff around the hot spring and then started taking pictures.
Photos?
No, but I'll explain why, but I was very close to the hot spring.
The thing that I didn't fully anticipate, I guess I could have known this, but it's one thing to say it, it's another thing. It's kind of like going to a park. You can say how beautiful it is, but until you're there, you really can't experience it. I think in a similar way, I could have known that this camping excursion would have been unlike any other, but I really didn't think it through until it was happening. First of all, me and Christy, to the best of my recollection, we've never gone camping just the two of us.
Yeah, me and Jesse have never done
it. Every time that I would go camping, I mean in college we would go, and it was also mission oriented. We're gonna go to this place so that we can experience these things, so that we can do these things. And whenever we would start going off-roading, like when we first moved out here, or like we did the Death Valley trips and stuff like that, camping was kind of just the means to bed down in between doing more off-roading, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The most prevalent experience of camping is bringing the kids, and there's so much logistics associated with once you have 1, 2, or 3 kids, good gosh.
Right.
And you know, it's just
definitely one too many.
Trying to keep everybody straight and keep everything together. And everybody's got opinions and everybody's on edge. I didn't realize how, you know, I came with a mentality of this is not everything we talked about in the last Ear Biscuit. It's just about taking every day as it comes, and my desired outcome is quality time with Christy, and then hopefully that this is overall a great experience that we can then do again, you know? So within that context, I started to have thoughts, like the first night when we were camping and you know, setting up the camp was so easy. There was no tent to set up. There was no fire to start, which is illegal. I just had that propane tank and you just fire that up, cook some stuff, you immediately turn it off and on and like it doesn't spread flames at all. It's legal. Mm-hmm. But it makes it so simple. I found myself having this
abundance of time,
headspace to think, and I actually had the thought for the first time, I'm starting to connect with nature. Like you hear people talking about how they go out into nature and like some people say, well, you know, I feel closest to God when I'm in nature, or I just like to connect with the earth. And I was like, you know, hunters do that in their own way.
They connect with it so hard. They kill it.
But it's this like primal thing, like farmers do it. They get their hands dirty. They like have a relationship with the earth that they learn to speak its language and to give to it and benefit from it. And I actually started having these thoughts, you know, just like a level of appreciation for connection with nature that on all of the camping trips I've been through, there just wasn't a lot of space for that. And you know, we're like setting up our camp, we're eating, we're watching the sun go down.
Well, it also helps, and I'm assuming this was your experience, because definitely my experience, it also helps for me when you're not in an established campground.
Yes.
To me, that like
dispersed camping for the win.
That made all the difference in the world in being able to
even say for the win.
To feel like there's an opportunity to connect. Because when you're in this, like, okay, well, there's this, especially when it's like a paved.
If you're at a campground
and there's a building over there that a person built that you can take a crap in.
Yes.
That, to me, that just takes away from it, even if the scenery is beautiful. And
Yeah.
then also, and there's another person right there next to you and you can hear their conversation. You can like hear, even if you can't make out what they're saying, you can kind of just hear the
Yeah. And it's
Can't
like,
stand
okay,
that.
that's part of camping is what we've thought. And we have camped like totally isolated, but we've done it with other people. Like when we went to Death Valley, there was nobody around in many of those nights except for the group, but it was like 5 trucks full of guys. So you still have that, there's no isolation. But yeah, definitely that first night, we found this amazing campsite just outside of Zion on National Forest land using the iOverlander app. That was the app that worked best for me.
I ended up using that, yeah.
We didn't have cell service, but the spot was so good, we were like, all right, we're going to Zion tomorrow, we're gonna come back to the same spot and enjoy it again because it's such a good spot. Like we could see the sunset.
Well, you know,
there was like a ravine right there, there were red rocks.
you
It was
can
amazing.
I took a Garmin satellite phone,
Yeah?
not a sponsor. I think it was the InReach or something like that. And so even when I didn't have cell service, I could text Jessie and it texts her and she gets the text on her phone
And a location.
and a link to my location on the map.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
Need to get one of those.
it's like a monthly service that you can turn on and off. And I think it's like $30 for the month, and then you just turn it off and it's stagnant while you're not using it.
That's
and then
nice peace of mind because yeah.
I mean, I was by myself.
Yeah,
So
especially by
I
yourself.
definitely had to do that.
Yeah, so that isolation, it really creates so much more space than I even anticipated. And it was relaxing. And so it gets dark, you're hanging out, and I didn't turn off the propane fire yet. We were like sitting around the fire and we were looking up and we were just like, man, look at the stars.
Oh yeah.
It's the time of year. It took me a while to figure out why. I mean, it was totally clear. The most stars I had ever seen except for that night that we landed in Fiji and it was dark and we got on a boat that had no lights on it and they took us out to that island that we stayed at for a week and we looked up at the sky on this boat, Chris and I were talking about that and we're like, I can't believe we did that. Like in the middle of the night, it felt like in the pitch dark, we get on this boat and then we're just going out and there's no lights on the boat, it seemed like, because we would look up and we saw so many stars and it took me back there because that was the only time I'd seen as many stars as we saw that night. And I turned off the fire and I turned off all the lights on the van and we just craned our necks and we watched the stars like we were watching a movie. And that had, again, had never happened.
And you can see like the bright like sort of like cluster of stars beyond the stars.
I was like, is that the Milky Way?
Well, you're in the Milky Way.
And then, yeah, I convinced Christy it was the Milky Way. And then we came home and Lily's like, Dad, you're in the Milky Way. She was like, those are nebulas, is what she said. Did she say nebulas? No, she said supernovas. That's what she said. Like all that.
Supernova is an event.
But this is just more stars, right? You can see, it was a whole band across the sky, like one band of more stars, right?
Yeah, you know what?
Like a Milky Way.
By the time I record mine, I'll tell you what it is. Okay, I'll know definitively.
Yeah, I wanted to look it up.
Because I saw.
I didn't have service.
Because you don't see that at all in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even think about the stars.
It was mesmerizing. And I didn't, like I said, we were just watching it like a movie and it was a highlight. It was amazing. And then.
Did you see, we'll talk about aliens, but did you see, when it's that clear and you have that big of an expanse, if you look for long enough, you start seeing shooting stars.
Yes, we were both looking up and we saw the same shooting star. And it was like, whoa, we just saw that. So like seeing a shooting star together and just talking about how, okay, first of all, a shooting star is not a star, it's not a star at all. A shooting star is a meteor.
No, a shooting star is the Milky Way.
It's like just to see this, to both see a shooting star, to see this meteor.
It's almost like, what's the movie where
it's serendipity to share that with
Feifel,
somebody.
American Tail? Is that when you're both looking at the same?
Yes.
It's just like that.
It's just like that. Except Chris and I were
Fievel?
next to each other.
Is it Fievel or Feifel? Fievel?
Fievel.
And
then, we watched the stars, we had eaten, it was time to, to start bedding down for the night. And then I realized, and I had this thought in the back of my head, but it's not the type of thing that I wanted to say as part of my intention. And I wanted to hold on loosely because you don't want to attach too many expectations, and you don't, a lot of things have to line up for certain things to happen.
I'm interested where you're going with this.
But that night it was like, you know what?
You're not trying to have a fourth kid, are you? Because you're not capable of that.
No, that's not what this is about. That's exactly what this is about. I'm talking about getting into the van and saying, you know what? I brought some mail. You brought some mail. I think we need to sort this mail.
Yeah, right.
We should sort this mail. The back doors of this van are open. There's a nice space here where we can lay out all the mail and sort it.
Right. And hold on, this is the first or the last night?
This is the first night.
I'm about to say, hopefully this didn't wait until the last night before you figured out this could happen.
This is the first night. And I knew it could happen, but you know
it can happen?
I just never know. I never know. A lot of things have to line up to say, you know what? It's a good time to sort the mail. And if you're making a lot of adjustments to a place, the last thing you want to do sometimes is sort the mail.
And you got to have an internet connection so you can look at the WikiHow and know how to do it again.
Now I remember how to sort the mail. And we just felt like—
For those of you who didn't listen to that episode, sorting the mail is having sexual intercourse.
That's for them to find out.
Okay.
Yeah, so we embark on sorting the mail. Turns out we had both brought mail that needed to be sorted.
That's important. Both of you have to be sorted.
Right, yeah.
It just can't be one person.
Right. Yeah, it's like—
That's very selfish.
Both people's, if you both bring mail, you should both sort it.
Yeah.
It should both be sorted.
Did you sort hers first?
Sort each other's mail.
Because you should really sort hers first. Don't be one of those guys.
Well, it's like if you want to categorize your mail, then you put it into stacks, and then you might sort some. Okay, some of your mail's over here. I'm gonna sort some.
What are the stacks?
I'm gonna sort some of. Well, we sorted some of her mail, sorted some of my mail, then sorted the rest of her mail, and then sorted.
Yeah. You don't want to do all sorting. Yeah,
right.
You want to mix it up,
and then
just make sure
you want to save a little bit of my mail to sort.
Yeah.
Last.
But the thing is once you've sorted your mail, you don't want to sort any more mail.
That's why that's why the mail's mail is sorted last.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I was like, it felt like two teenagers going off into the woods in a van.
We never got to do that.
And it's like
we never got to go parking.
Not that teenagers even cared about their mail, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
It felt like teenagers sorting mail. It was
I cared a lot about mail.
And then I started thinking, is the purpose of this van, this is a rental van, is the purpose of this rental van
rugged
so that people can take it and go off into the wilderness and sort their mail?
That's why they wash it so much.
Are other people sorting their mail right here?
That's why they tell you we've really, really, really rinsed it down.
I started to get freaked out.
Of what?
I wasn't even done sorting the mail, and I'm starting to get freaked out about thinking about other people sorting their mail.
Well, have you ever been to a hotel?
And then I thought about the hotel thing, and I'm like, but it feels different because it's tighter in here. And there's I don't know, it just felt a little different, okay? And then I started thinking, you know what? You're overthinking this. Actually, continue to overthink it, and you'll come through the other side. Here goes. A lot of people want to sort the mail.
That's
they think,
not.
You know what? I'm going camping. I'm gonna bring all this mail. I'm gonna sort it.
Were you talking about this out loud or just thinking about it?
No, too smart for that. That distracts from.
But the point here's the thing. You're not good at doing two things at once, so I can only imagine that your mail sorting was suffering significantly at this point.
Well, that's not the only thing I had to take a break for. I was so parched. I had to keep my water bottle up by my pillow so that in the middle of the night I could reach over, I could grab my water bottle.
Why don't you just sleep in a Camelback?
And it's a good idea. I do have one.
If you just would sleep in a Camelback, and you could put it on your front so you don't accidentally sleep on your stomach.
Yeah, I don't sleep on the bladder.
It's a camel front. You should make a camel front.
Or I could just run a straw from my water bottle into my mouth and not have to wear anything. Because that's basically what I had, a tank of water. And then
that's gonna spill.
At one point we were sorting, we were doing a good job of sorting. Like at a certain point, it's like, wow, I really know where everything goes now.
Now that you're 42.
And then I look up and I see my water bottle and I grab it and I start drinking water. And then Chrissy's like, you can't take a water, you're taking a water break in the middle of our mail sorting?
Only Link Neal would take a water break.
I was like, I am so parched. Like your nose, like my nose is still running a little bit because it was so trying to moisten itself. And like everything got so dry. My mouth was so dry. Oh gosh.
Yeah, but
I started to feel better
you
about
drink before and after, not during.
Yeah, lesson learned. But I started to get freaked about other people sorting the mail, and then I realized, you know what? A lot of couples, they get out here and like one of them was like, you know what? I didn't bring my mail. Or the other one's like, I didn't bring my mail. It's like, again, you both need to bring mail to be sorted if you really want this thing to work out. I think most people, one person will be thinking, oh, we're going in this van, I'm definitely bringing mail. But both of them, maybe not. I think most people, when they're packing everything, and they're like, you know, oh my gosh, I know I'm gonna forget something. At that point, even before they left on their trip, they say, you know what? I ain't got room for mail. And they don't even bring it. So then I started to feel better. I think that we broke in that van.
So you're telling me that you are trying to take comfort in the fact, which I believe is not a fact, which is a false assumption.
I don't want you to.
That other people have not had sex in this van? That's just not, most couples who go camping have sex with each other.
I never had.
You haven't been camping with your wife before. You just said that at the top of
Well, you may be right, and you know what? I need to get my own van.
Okay.
I was okay with it.
You should get your own van for other reasons.
We didn't discuss this. It just happened in my mind. I'm only discussing it with you because I knew this is where it would land.
I think maybe what you should realize at this point is that you have probably had sex in many different places where other people have had sex, and most likely.
Can you say male?
No, because I think that we have to talk about this directly at this point. I think that the analogy is fun, but I think that it may be making you think incorrectly about it. Sometimes an analogy can get too vivid.
Yeah, and like if I have to wear a postal outfit.
I think that we need to now be using literal terms. So next time you have sexual intercourse with your wife in a place that is not your home, you need to assume that another couple has also had sexual intercourse in that place.
And that's fine.
And you need to be okay with that.
I was okay enough with it to finish the job.
Not without taking a water break though.
It's totally unrelated. And then I was like, man, I hope we're not close to other people like when we camp other nights, because I don't want to be thinking, are they over there sorting their mail? What? Do they think that we're over here sorting our mail? Well, does it matter?
To me, that's a more relevant question, right?
Especially with the van doors open.
Because what I found is that there is a sweet spot. I'm not talking about sorting mail. I'm talking about wherever you find a place to boondock, which is not another word for sex. It just means it sounds like one though.
It does. Boondocking complete. Initiating docking sequence.
Well, I mean, because you think about it.
Yeah, you dock.
Boon is a pretty good name for it, and docking is the perfect word
boondocking in the boondocks. That's what I did, man.
Wow, boondocking. Boondocking just means camping. Dispersed camping is the official term on the National Forest websites. But to me, there's a sweet spot. You don't want to be in an established campground because you're too close to people.
Yeah.
But as I will explain thoroughly in my episode,
other people don't care?
No. Being too remote presents itself with a new set of problems.
Okay.
There is a sweet spot in which you're alone.
Yeah.
But you kind of know where that other family is.
Yeah, and we knew there was another couple, like the first place we went to, and that like we could barely see them if we looked through the trees in a certain way, like over a mile away.
Right, you feel like
I had made contact with people and then I found another site.
You can have a conversation with yourself, in my case. You can play your own music. You're not thinking about, like if you need to like walk to the side of the campsite and piss on a tree or something like that, you can do all this freely.
Yeah.
But, so obviously I wasn't thinking about boondocking or sorting the mail because I was alone. So the question for you would be, was that on your mind? Like, could someone be watching? And would that bother you?
Well, we had already, because we didn't want to shower in the shower, like I said, we showered out in the open using the garden hose that had hot and cold water spigot right there at the back of the van. Like we did like a full-on shower there.
Yeah.
Like shampoo, I had my freaking loofah, baby.
You brought a loofah?
I brought a loofah.
Okay, all right. I took
Exfoliate,
I took a naked shower.
It's great.
It's great. In a valley.
Bring a loofah?
No, I don't have a loofah to bring. Now,
I don't know why there was judgment in that statement.
When you go to I
got to get to my scary story too. So
just quickly answer this. Do you go when you go to a hotel that is like a high rise in New York City, for instance?
Yeah.
And one of the walls is a window.
Yeah.
And it faces across to another building that has a similar setup.
Yeah.
And the time to sort the mail comes. Do you close the windows? Or do you put on a show?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it depends on, I don't know, there's a lot more variables than like what I actually see out of the window and how close it is.
Well, yeah, so.
But if I can see other people walking around and if they were nude, I could see them. Like I usually, if you turn off all the lights, I leave the windows open.
See, I have not been able to
it's darker.
I haven't been able to convince my wife of this yet, but my personal philosophy in this situation is if I can look to an opposing building and I can see that there's people,
yeah,
but I could not identify them without, a set of
position they were in.
I could identify the position.
Okay.
And I could tell, okay, there's a long-haired man and a woman or whatever,
Yes.
But not, hey, there's Rhett having sex with his wife.
Yeah.
Without the assistance of like some sort of binoculars or something. I am on team
open window. Open curtain.
Because
but when the lights are off in the room.
No, I'm team lights on, open window.
No, you're not.
I am.
Lights off, man.
Lights on.
Okay, all right, that's okay.
I want to see what's happening.
But then you're encountering resistance from your mate.
She's not completely closed to the idea. She also thinks that everyone can hear and see everything. She thinks that everyone else on Earth is Superman in terms of how well they can see and hear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta ease into it. Leave the curtain open, but turn the light off, man. You need just enough light to read what the mail says so you can sort it. You gotta know where it goes.
If I had to choose between lights on or window open, I would choose lights on because,
I like a nice candle light or like a nice ambient light.
I don't mean like fluorescence.
I'm talking about like the bathroom light is on and the door is askew.
I'm not talking about like commercial kitchen lighting. I'm talking about like, I wanna be able to see everything, but also if it's a little bit dim, everything is, you're both that much more flattering to one another.
Sure.
Yeah, but completely dark?
No, not completely. I mean, ambient lighting.
I don't want it to be fuzzy.
Ambient lighting does not allow for anyone across a skyscraper to watch you.
But having people across the skyscraper watch you can, in my thinking, I never experienced it, could be an enhancement. Just for every once in a while.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, I want to hear your story though.
It's not that I want to cut that conversation short. It's just I don't have anything to say after that. It's like, okay, I'm not, I'm gonna just thumbs up.
Yeah. Well, my favorite part about these conversations is that after we have them, people tweet at my wife and then I get home and she's like, what did you talk about? What were you talking about?
We pre-record these, it was so long ago I don't remember. So it was this story happens, and it is not a story. This is a true event. A matter of fact, I wrote down what happened so I wouldn't forget any of it and to lend credibility to it. I didn't want to forget anything. And Christy had a more direct experience with a key part of this, so I wanted to make sure that her story came through correctly and not in any way embellished. This is how the things happened. We had gotten pretty good at camping by our last night. Like I said, we went outside of Vegas. We we were looking forward to finding a campsite earlier and then also leaving later the next morning, like to really be at a leisurely pace and still be able to get home before I have to return this thing at 5 o'clock. So we went up into this Lovell Canyon Road. It's actually, it's a road in the middle of nowhere on the backside of that mountain range that overlooks Las Vegas. You can't see anything. I mean, it took a long time to get up there. Once you get on that road, it goes for miles up into this picturesque valley. And then there's an occasional gravel pull off to the side with where people could camp. We saw a couple of people, but the one I was going for was way far in there. And we wanted cell service, so I went as far as we could go. We lost cell service, then we came back and I saw one campsite that was up on this berm in the middle of this valley, this amazing berm where we drove off of. It was actually a paved road. Did I say that? It was asphalt, the main road through the thing. So it was like accessible, more accessible than other places. But then once you go off of that on the dirt road, like I was like, I'm gonna put it in 4-wheel drive because I just don't know, like going over these rocks.
Right.
It was not a smooth road at all. It wasn't a gravel road. It was borderline off-roading right there. But it wasn't far that we would go off the paved road. We would go up this berm, maybe 400 yards, and there was a campsite that had this amazing vista on both sides. We had cell service, but I looked and there was down a little saddle further on the off-roading and back up, and like 200 yards away, there was another, it dipped down and went back up and there was another berm. And so I drove over there and it just wasn't flat enough. I'd learned that like if you don't park flat, you don't sleep flat, and it really compromises your ability to sleep.
Did they not give you the little blocks to balance?
No, there were no blocks.
I took those with me. Those proved to be.
I underestimated, like people were leaving
important
reviews about like the campsite is flat, and I'm like, I discovered it's important.
For a tent, that's really important, but
yeah.
when you have a van or you got the rooftop tent, I just bought like $30 on Amazon, these blocks that you can stack in all these different ways, and I use them
under the wheel?
Literally every single night to get, under multiple wheels, to get it exactly, it became this mission to get the tent exactly
because
flat.
You sleep a lot better.
Yeah.
If you're sliding, especially with two people and you're like smushing somebody,
yeah,
that's not good. So we left that outermost berm, we came back 200 yards, down the saddle, back up to this other berm, and then we set up shop there. Sun was still, it was like 4 o'clock. We had plenty of time to enjoy everything. It was like a 360-degree view.
You cooking inside the van?
No, we're cooking on there's a burner in there, but then we cooked on top of that propane tank outside. Like we had a big rectangular skillet. We ate breakfast for dinner that night because it was our last night and we had eggs and bacon. Christy made the bacon. She fried the bacon and it spelled Link. She knows the way to my heart.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty great, huh? We're having a great time. We're listening to Sea Change by Beck.
That's a big pan or a small bacon.
The pan was this big.
Okay.
And then the sun's going down, and I think there is some smoke residue, or it might have just been so hot, the ambient heat, it created this amazing effect on the sunset. And it was like literally the most amazing sunset we've ever seen. Like it was wonderful. We were having the time of our lives. And then we ate dinner as it was getting dark. And then because she made the dinner, I was on dish duty inside of the camper, and she was sitting outside, I think reading something or like on her phone because she had service. And by this point it's dark. It's like 9 o'clock, okay? And I'm like finishing up washing the dishes. And earlier in the day, before it got dark, we heard a car coming up the road, and it was still light. And so I stepped out of the camper to just let them know that like, hey, there's 2 people here. I'm gonna suss out these people going by.
Coming up the dirt road.
Yeah, coming up the dirt road, and they had to go right beside our van. to then go down that little thing to go to that next site that we decided not to take. Well, really early on, one guy along with the rooftop tent went there, he parked, and we were like, oh man, is he gonna say, if we can't shower there now because he would see us. He stayed there for a few minutes, then he left. Later on.
Yeah, you can't be crowding people, man. It's a freaking desert. There's all kinds
later
of
it's almost sunset. This other man, and it looked like his teenage daughter came through. And then they went up and checked out the same spot. And then we're like watching, and we could see them. We could see, and they got out of their car and they set up a tent and they stayed. So we were a little bit bummed, but like we were facing the other direction and they were on the other side of the van, like I said, 200 yards away on another berm. So we still felt like we had pretty good privacy. And then sun went down, we ate our dinner. It's 9 o'clock at night. I'm inside washing the dishes. She's outside on her phone. And all of a sudden I hear gravel and I see like headlights hit the side of our van, and a car is creeping up the dirt road, coming right up to us. And like, I'm in there washing, and the car comes past my field of view and stops where I can't see the car. I can't see who's driving the car or anything. I can just see the tail of the car from where I was washing the dishes, but I could see Christy, and she could see this car, of course, because she was out there in the open. And then the car stops.
Right next to you.
Right next to the back of our van. And I hear a guy say to Christy, "Are you selling any hot dogs?" And Christy said, and I freeze, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy asking about hot dogs? And I'm like, I literally freeze, and I'm like just listening, because it was hard for me to hear, but my instinct was just to listen. So let me just, here's the exchange. "Are you selling any hot dogs?" And then I hear Christy say, "No, we actually don't have any." And then the guy says, "I'm going around getting people to vote. Vote on my pictures to see which ones they like best." And I'm still listening, and then Christy goes, "No, thank you. We're not interested." And she was like really, had a friendly voice. And then the guy said, "I just need you to vote on the photos. See, I have them right here."
What?
And I can't see him.
Hell?
And then Christy,
hold on, and you're still,
Christy stood up.
You're still in the
I'm
kitchen?
still in the kitchen frozen.
Like washing? Like you gotta be out there at this point.
In retrospect, I was trying to figure out why. Was I frightened? Was I frozen with fear? Was I being strategic?
Strategic.
I think all of these were happening because my initial thing was
the strategic hesitation. It's not basketball.
I was trying to assess the situation. I was freaked out.
Oh,
I was like,
as you should have.
I was like, what the heck's going on? Like when the people came around earlier, I had come out and shown my face, but my instincts told me, just sit back here. Christy is gonna, I need to do whatever it takes to de-escalate the situation. This guy seems strange. Very strange.
A little.
And I think I was just like, Christy is going to politely get this guy to drive off. If I go out there and like say something, I might say I had this instinct that I was gonna say the wrong thing. And I will say.
You might escalate.
I had a couple, okay?
Okay.
So I was just trying to know my limitations. And I was like, I might go out there and I might be aggressive, or I might try to scare the guy.
And you know how I do. And that is your MO when you enter into weird situations like that. You come in pretty aggressive or pretty strong.
And if
not de-escalating.
And if I had I escalate things, and if I've had a few, I speak louder. And so I think I didn't have enough that I didn't know that about myself. So my instinct told me, Christy's gonna de-escalate this. I'm gonna stay back here, and then I can assess what I need to do when the time is right. So, I mean, he was like, I'm going around getting people to vote on my pictures to see which ones they like best. And then Christy's like, no, thank you, we're not interested. And then he said, I just need you to vote on the photos. See, I have them right here. And then Christy told me that he holds up like 4x6 photos.
Oh, it wasn't on a phone, it was literal photos.
He had printed out photos and of course he's in the driver's seat. He's leaning over the passenger seat trying to lure Christy close to the car to show her the pictures.
How old is this guy? What does he look like?
Christy said, it's very dark. Again, there's no moon. We had turned most of our lights off because
You're way out there.
We're way out there. Yes. And Christy was like, well, nah, we're just wrapping up dinner. And then she said she couldn't see his face that well, but it was it was one guy in the car, and it was a hatchback car. It could have been like a Subaru Outback type thing that could have gone on this off-roading part. But if you're in a car and you go slow enough, you could navigate it. And so it was just a hatchback. That's all we could tell. He's leaning from the driver's side, so she can't really see his face, but it's just some white dude. I mean, she couldn't describe him more than that. And then she's like, we're just wrapping up dinner. And so she said, he was like, okay. And he throws his hand up in the air like, whatever. And then he slowly keeps going past us.
To the other people.
Down into that thing and then up to those next people. And at that moment that he drove away, Christy, I was still in the kitchen. Christy comes in there and she's visibly freaking out.
Yeah.
And I'm also freaking out. And like our eyes are so wide, and it was like, we were like, what just happened is what we seem to be saying to each other without actually saying words. And I was just like, she was like, what was this guy was trying to lure me to the car. I was like, yeah, I didn't know if I should go out there or if I should wait, but it felt like you were handling it. And I was like, I just didn't, I just wanted him to go away, and it seemed like you were doing a good job of that. And she was like, and I was thinking, we gotta get out of here. He's going to this guy is unpredictable.
Do you have
he may be unstable.
Do you have a knife or anything?
I wasn't thinking of that at the time. I have one of those like 5-in-1 tools that has a knife in it.
I have a giant knife.
Yeah,
I didn't
even think about the
hunting
fact that
knife that's like 12 inches long, and I kept it in my tent every night just in case trouble came.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, I got to rethink some things to think things through on another level, because at this point, I'm thinking in my mind, I know Christy wants to get the hell out of Dodge, and I'm also thinking
he's got to come back by you,
I want
right?
to get the hell. We knew that he had to come back by us once he was done.
Once the
Yes.
the dad and the daughter were done judging the photos.
Yes. Or once he's done like killing and eating them, it's a dead end. He has to come back by us. So we were freaking out that we knew he was coming back by.
Also, you still got cell service. Did it hit you that maybe you should call the police at that point?
Christy said, let's call the cops. And I'm like, let's not call the cops yet. Let's not panic. And I just didn't feel like, I don't know. I just didn't want to call the cops. Let's put a pin in that.
Okay.
But
I'm not saying that you definitively should have called the cops at that point.
Christy was talking about let's call the cops. There was a debate.
There's something not right about this guy.
Yeah.
There's several things not right about this guy.
So Christy was like, need to pack everything up so that when he comes back through, we can be ready. We can be in the van locked up, and if we need to leave, we can just leave. So I was like, listen, Christy. And we turned off all the lights in the van so that we could see through our little window. We watched him drive down there to those other people. With all of our lights on, we couldn't see him that well. So we like,
how easy is it to pack up?
We doused everything. And then I was like, Christy, you look out this window and you keep your eyes glued to this guy. If he starts coming back, you let me know. While you don't take your eyes off of his car lights. I'm gonna get everything cleaned up. And then I went out there and I got the propane burner had just cooled down enough to put it in the car, the propane tank, our chairs, the cooler. I'm scrambling, putting everything away in the pitch dark without any lights on. And then I put everything back in, and I come back in, and she's like, he's still there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of photos to go through.
He's still there. Did he kill both of them? I don't know. You know, what's he doing? Is he putting on their skin as a suit? I don't know what's happening, but I'm thinking, and I asked Chrissy this, like, if we're watching a movie of us right now, what would we be saying to our characters? Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, but in the movie that you would definitely have judged the photos because, I mean, that's what would be more fun for a plot. Oh, really?
So yeah.
Let me see your photos.
Christy did stand up, I think, but she did not walk towards the man with the photos. Yeah, we knew he was coming back, and we're like, I don't want to be the people in the movie that I'm gonna be angry at. We need to be ready to leave. So like, we locked up the van, we locked up everything, and then all of a sudden the car starts moving. Mm-hmm. And it starts creeping back, and because of the terrain, it had to go so slow, and it went down in that berm, and it came up, and we're looking out the back two windows of the van where he would drive right past us, and he drives, and comes right up to the van, and then he keeps going slowly, and he goes down below the van, and he gets back to the paved road, and we could still see him, and he stops there at the paved road, and he has to turn right or left. He doesn't turn anywhere. He sits there for a long time. And I'm like
how long?
It felt like 10 minutes. Like he was like, I don't know. What, is he blocking our only exit? Like we're cowering in this van, locked up, and then he turns left, and we like watch him go down into the canyon, and then we watch him go up on another berm where a long ways away we saw that there was another camper, and it's like, Christy's like, we need to get out of here, and she was like, you can't drive. It's like, you don't want to get a DUI. Mm-hmm. You know, she didn't want her first experience driving the Sprinter van
to be off-road.
Yeah, off-road. So then it's like, you just need to just take some time. How long do you think it's gonna take you before you feel like you can drive? And I'm like, an hour. And then like, we're just sitting there in the dark, freaked out.
You can kind of see where he went.
I see that he went to another site. And then like, over 20 minutes of processing this, I'm like, you know what? It's a paved road down the middle of this thing. This guy's a little off, but I bet you he comes up in here and tries to sell his pictures to campers. And I'm like, Christy, he said, I'm not trying to sell you anything, I just want you to vote on my pictures. But then when you said, I like this one best, I'm voting for this one, he would say, I'll sell it to you for $5.
Because it was like pictures of like nature.
Of nature.
And stuff.
So
Well, the pictures of him like posing.
Yeah.
Which would have been especially weird.
It wasn't like you in like a New York City exhibition.
Right, yeah.
In your bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, this guy is just a strange guy who likes to sell his pictures to like campers in the pitch black of night.
Yeah, not a great strategy.
And then she's like, well, I would feel better if we went and talked to that other couple. And I'm like, if we drive up there, there's no place to turn around because of where they parked. I can't turn this van around. That's probably why it took him so long up there, because he couldn't turn his car around. And I'm trying, I'm like, I'm getting my wits about me now. I'm not freaking out as much, and I'm trying to de-escalate how scared Christy is. And I'm like, and then we start walking down into the ravine up to where this other camping group is, the dad and the daughter. And we get halfway there, and like, you can hear someone's on a laptop or like watching a show or something. But then it's like, it's so dark out there, and I just had a headlamp, and I was like, we're gonna freak them out by going up there. And we got too scared to walk up to them, and we turned around and walked back, and we were like, I'm scared. We were like laughing. Chrissy had not had anything, by the way. She was just like, she's just predisposed to be freaked out by this stuff, and she doesn't like to drive off-road, which stuck us in this middle ground. We're like huddled back at the van, afraid this guy's gonna come back. And then I'm like, listen, this is fine. She was like, I really would feel better if we talked to those other people. So we walked out there again.
Did you make it this time?
We get halfway and we get scared again and we come back.
Hold on, you're scared?
I don't know, we were just so freaked out that we didn't want to go.
Scared of freaking them out?
We were scared of freaking them out. What if after all this, like that guy has a knife or a gun and like he's trying to protect his daughter and we're the ones who get caught in the crossfire or something because we freaked him out. And we were gonna yell at him, but then it's like, you don't wanna yell.
Hey, we wanna talk to you about that guy that tried to get you to judge the photos.
We go back and I'm like, listen, everything is fine. We're locked up in this van.
And you sleep inside the van.
We sleep inside the van. It's locked up. So we got calm. We're like, we're just gonna chill out here. And then we're like, you know what, we're here. I mean, we're just bedding down for the night. I got some mail.
This is not a great time.
We could sort some mail. You know what? Surprisingly enough, there was enough mail on both sides to sort that it actually, you know, sometimes when you clean up, it gives you a sense of control. I think sometimes sorting the mail gives you a sense of release.
Well, it's like a gorilla, when a gorilla is trying to
express dominance.
Dominate another gorilla, it gets an erection and shows it.
Yeah.
And it's actually way smaller than you would expect for a gorilla.
Because you would know that like anyone who's really scared can't get an erection.
Right.
If they're even, not even just a gorilla, like I'm talking about me now.
So being able to get an erection and use it is actually the ultimate show that you're completely relaxed.
We were completely relaxed. We were over
In fact, come on back, let me buy some of your photos.
And then, so then I was feeling pretty good. And we were like getting everything, like I probably got a drink of water and I got up.
You did.
And it's like, all of a sudden, the sliding door on the van begins to open. Now, it's a big electric sliding door, so it's like you pull the handle and then it like goes out and then it slowly, and there was dirt, so it took a while for it to open. I did not, the keys were up in the front where I'd locked the van. Christy didn't have them. No, we didn't touch any buttons that would have opened the door. 100%, we did not do anything to open the door, but here we are, the door is opening, and I'm standing there looking out the door as it's opening, waiting to see this guy standing there. It scared the shit out of me. And also Christy, like she literally had to go to the bathroom once we found out there was no one standing there. I don't know why the door opened, but my theory is there's some sort of voice command that connects to like the entertainment system.
You didn't know about the voice command?
And I don't think that the voice, sometimes it would come on kind of like, hey, when you say, hey Siri. So but I don't have any proof that would actually work with the van. Maybe it wasn't locked all the way. And
had you said like open?
No, I did not want the door to open.
I'm so open right now.
There was nothing on the other side of that van door except blackness. It was so dark. It scared me. But
you expected the guy to be standing there with two photos.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Which one do you like? Just tell me.
And then at this point, Christy wasn't freaking out, and I was like, I think it was the voice thing because something lit up on the entertainment console. I was lying. And so she was fine. And she wasn't freaking out about it. So then I closed the door back and then I made sure everything was locked. And then we laid back down in the bed and Christy kept looking at those, she was looking through the window, but like I rolled over and went to sleep. I don't know how long I was asleep. Christy said I was snoring, but she was wide awake and looking out the window. And then what I woke up to was Christy grabbing my thigh.
This story is still going?
Yes. She grabbed my thigh and it was probably 10:30 at this point. I woke up out of a sleep and like eyes wide open, headlights shining through the back of the van in my face.
Oh gosh. Did you immediately recognize the same headlights?
And I couldn't see because it was headlights. And then the car is creeping towards us and coming right up to our van. And then it slowly goes by and it's the same car. It's a hatchback. I will say for a fact, it's a hatchback car. And it keeps going by and we are freaking out. I mean, every time that we've been freaking out this whole time with all the lights off,
this is nuts.
Christy and I have been whispering to each other. We haven't been talking in a loud voice. We've been like whispering, like, what do we do? And it was like, oh shit, I think I don't think it's the same car. I'm like telling Christy, I'm like, that's a different car. It's boxier.
Yeah.
I'm lying.
Right.
I'm thinking, this is the same freaking car. This is Picture Man. And he goes by us. He knows it's a dead end. He goes down into that saddle. And then I can barely see his car stop, brake lights. He doesn't go up to those people. His car stops down in the bottom, 100 yards from us and 100 yards from them. And then all of a sudden the lights in the car go off, and I'm waiting for the interior light to come on when the car door opens.
They don't.
It doesn't.
He's bedding down.
It's totally black. And then we just sat there for a long time just watching to see if there's any signs of this guy getting out of his car. Because I'm like, I sit up and I'm like, just keep watching. I'm getting in the driver's seat and we're getting the hell out of here. And I got in the driver's seat and I backed that puppy up and we drove out of there. Because the guy was just there. At any moment, he could have got out of the car, walked up there, and made his skin into a suit.
At that point,
skin into a suit.
You have no choice. Now,
and so we drove down like to the end of the road where we pulled off the main road, and we were still in a place where we just parked over there. We saw someone else camping. We camped kind of near them. We just parked, and we felt much better, and we slept that night, got up the next morning. But I wanted to go ride back up there and see if anybody was still up there, but
because what about the dad and the daughter?
Well, they were alive the first time he left. And then the second time he didn't go back up there, but like he might have blocked them in. That's the scariest I've ever been. And it was like multiple freaking parts to it. And maybe we should call the ranger even now and tell him, hey, heads up, there's some dude with pictures. If there's I don't have much of a description, but
maybe this is what's happening with this guy. Maybe years ago, he made a deal with the devil of sorts.
Okay.
And now every night he has to get someone to buy one of his photos, or else he turns into a pumpkin. And I think what happened is that either he succeeded or he didn't. And he goes back to that spot. And if you had stuck around until midnight, you would have seen him turn into a pumpkin.
What do you think really happened though? I think the guy was a little off, but he was just trying to make scratch selling these pictures of nature. And I'm dying to know what he said to those people, but I was too scared to walk up there, and I'm mad at myself.
And what did they see him coming up? Because I mean, if they were freaked out, then they see this guy come down and stop at the bottom of the ravine. Do you think that they knew that he was there?
Yeah. They definitely would have seen him.
And he's on the road.
Yeah.
So they can't get around him.
Yeah. I did a bad thing, didn't I? We abandoned these
Those people got boxed in by this guy. Who knows? Well, and this just happened 2 nights ago. You might need to look at the news. And it might be like, father and daughter murdered by crazed photo man outside of Las Vegas. And if that happened.
While other couple sorts mail in the close vicinity.
And now you've told your whole story, which includes, well, we saw him, we got a little bit scared, we had sex, and then we left. It's like,
no, he came back.
You have no alibi at this point. You don't really need an alibi, but I mean, you definitely are an accomplice to this.
I don't like calling the cops because I didn't want to like trouble them. They got things to worry about other than that, It's like, and I couldn't describe my exact location. I was like, well, we're up this canyon road and we still have cell service, so we're not too far in, but we're really far in. And
it's one of those situations, and I'm not saying I don't think I would have acted any differently, but it's one of those things that you wish you could go back, and the moment that he shows up, you could just say something like, hey, bro, let's talk about this. You understand what you're doing is very weird and threatening? It's dark, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. You're asking these weird questions about selling hot dogs and then asking us to judge your photos. This makes my wife and I feel unsafe.
Oh, well in that case, let me shoot you in the face and turn your skin into a suit.
I don't think that would happen. I think the reaction would be,
oh, you're right. I'm not crazy anymore.
No, they'd still be crazy, but you would at least say, so dude, go away or I'm going to call the police. I'm not saying I would have done that going in, but if this ever happens to me now, that's what I'm gonna do.
I feel more prepared now. I would have gone out there and I would have said something. Here's the thing that I've learned. Whenever you're out there camping and there are people going by, like when that dad and daughter went by, I probably would have waved them down and had a conversation. Because that way it's like I have an assessment of who these people are on this next berm, and then I would have confidence if I needed help or if I needed to check on them. I have confidence that I know who they are. That was part of why I was scared to go over there, because I don't know that it was a dad-daughter. It was a weird age difference.
Yeah, but
so you know,
maybe that's what they do.
I don't know. Maybe the photo person was with them, and they spent a lot of time there, and they were like,
they're a team, huh? It's not a very effective plan.
Yeah,
they need to work on their strategy. I don't know what the end game is.
I could get better at being ready for this type of thing, and then again, not escalating it. The main thing is like, after I was like, as it was happening, I was like, okay, if we don't die, this is the end of me and Christy ever going camping again. And I was mad.
Yeah, they got ruined it.
But you know what? She actually took it in stride with our entire trip and all the other things that happened. And
at least it happened the last night.
We had a positive experience.
If it happened the first night.
So many positive experiences that this scary thing did not outweigh it. So, just to kind of shut this down in a positive place, I'm not saying I'm definitely gonna buy one of these off-road Sprinter van outfits because I've got 3 kids and there's a lot of problems associated with that. Space was of a premium, let me tell you.
How many people could you comfortably take on a trip?
We could have brought Lando, and there's one place that could lay out where he could sleep in a separate bed.
But
you could do a rooftop tent or just set up a tent.
Take a tent.
Yeah.
Because my rooftop tent is rated for 3 people, but they would be very small people.
Yeah.
So I think I could either have Jesse or one of the kids. And so I was like, well, I'll just take an extra tent and put it on the ground.
If that guy would have been on the other side of that sliding door, like, I have no explanation for why it opened, but I've never been so scared as that moment.
That's why you gotta have a knife, man.
That's why I was, and I needed to have that knife in my hand.
I had bear spray, had a bullhorn, and a giant knife.
I've never been more scared than at that moment, because like, I just remember the feeling of peering over into the darkness as the door, it could not have opened slower. And I just knew that he was just gonna be standing there.
Yeah. We're not prepared for that kind of thing. Like, because we live in such a controlled, civilized society at this point, you go back in several thousand years, first of all, you wouldn't be in a van because they didn't exist.
But
if you had been in a van and the door opened, you would be immediately like in an aggressive, like you would have been so ready, like you would have been punching the air, you know what I'm saying?
This is what I look like.
Right, yeah. You were petrified, man.
I look like this. I was like sticking my neck out to be chopped.
We've lost the ability to just take life by the horns, man.
Yeah.
We've been coddled.
Yeah.
We should have knives.
I'm gonna have so many knives.
we should have.
I'm gonna have throwing knives.
We should have like gloves.
Do you realize
that
what
have
you're saying?
Claws on them.
So you're saying that Link Neal should go out into the woods cosplaying as Wolverine?
Yeah.
Like, is that a good idea?
I mean, you might hurt yourself and others, but you'll also protect yourself and others.
Just the first night, I couldn't figure out the freaking van. This is another point of reference. Like, we were bedding down for the night, and I'm like, I can't get the cab lights to turn off. In the front of the cab, I can't get them to turn off. I was pushing buttons everywhere. I accidentally pressed the SOS button on the Mercedes.
That's a problem.
And all of a sudden, I heard it.
Hello?
I heard
Can
a
I
number.
help you?
I heard it, it's ringing.
Yeah.
And I'm pushing buttons and I can't get it to stop.
Well, they'll ask you if it's a true emergency.
And then all of a sudden, they were like, hello, is this an emergency? And I was like,
no, I'm one of the 98% of the people who accidentally press this button that you talk to all night long.
No, what I said was, he said, hello, is this an emergency? And I said, no, but can you help me with a technical issue?
No, you didn't.
And she said,
no.
No, this is for emergency uses only. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't even mean to call you. I just hit the button by accident. And she hung up. And then I ended up pressing the SOS button 3 more times by accident, trying to figure out how to turn the lights off, but she never answered again. I got blocked.
Cried wolf.
And then I got in bed, I'm like, I'm sorry, Christy, the cab lights are gonna be on. It's gonna be ambient. And then she's like, I'm scared. This is her first night. She said, I'm scared sleeping with the doors open on the back of the van. So I was like, I went around, walked outside, closed the doors, because that's how you have to close them. And then as I was walking back, I was like,
that's why the doors are open.
That's why the damn lights
were
were
on.
So then I closed all the doors and I hit the lock button and the van locked and all the lights went off. And that's how I know that I don't know how that door opened for the creepy guy to not be there because I'd figured it out. But everything was so hard to figure out.
Can you have the doors open and the lights off? Surely you can.
You can't hit the lock button. If you hit the lock button, the lights stay on to let you know that you didn't actually lock your van because there's doors gaped open.
Got it, yeah.
So you have to learn to speak the van's language.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get one, maybe not, but I definitely have an appreciation for going out into nature and just like, and bringing my mail. Okay. I don't know if I ever want to bring my kids, honestly. Or maybe just one kid at a time type of thing. If I have this van, I can do smaller trips too. It doesn't have to always be, I'm trying to talk you into talking me into this. You can come. Me and you can take the van.
Yeah, but we gotta share a bed, right?
I will have a different, I'll put a rooftop tent on it.
You can put a rooftop tent on the van?
Yeah.
That'll be way up there.
You're used to it.
It's true. You so definitely should do it, man.
That may have been the scariest I've ever been, period.
I mean, I haven't had anything that legitimately, as I'll share in my episode.
I'm just trying to get people to vote on my pictures.
First I thought you were gonna say, I'm just trying to get people to vote. And I was like,
oh, great.
That's
what I thought. I was like, this guy in the middle of nowhere, you're trying to get out the vote?
Yeah, man, whatever it takes.
That's what I
thought.
Every
vote counts. Nevada's a swing state.
Everything he said was so strange that I was just frozen in fear and lack of assertiveness. But Christy handled herself like a master.
Now, here's the thing. My wife would be really mad at me if I had behaved like you did at the beginning.
I was surprised Christy wasn't mad at me. Because I think I deserve it.
There's this one time that she never lets me live this down. There's this one time we were in Chapel Hill, been married for like a year.
Yeah.
And there was a homeless man who was aggressive and kind of coming at us. And
you pushed her.
No, I didn't push her into it.
Take her, not me.
What if that's what I actually did?
Take the small one.
I had seen this guy before, and he would get in people's faces, and
Yeah.
Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, if a person in this situation gets aggressive, it's all talk. It's all bark, no bite, right? So we're just walking along and she is on the side that he kind of comes at us, and I just sort of looked at him and just kept walking, but I didn't get in front of her and I didn't bow up to the guy because in my mind, this guy's just a little bit nuts. He does this kind of aggressive thing where he comes up to you and then you just walk by. But for our entire marriage, she has held that against me, that in her mind, I pushed her to this guy. And so now I have this conscious thing where it's just like, if we're in a situation where someone is threatening, I've got to insert myself. But I haven't even had the opportunity.
Opposite, because remember that the story of Chrissy was pregnant and the guy, the guy with the football.
You tend to come in a little too
What
high.
are you doing?
Yeah.
I got to swing the pendulum back. All right, let me shut this down. I need to make a quick rec. It's my turn to make a rec. Let's see, not the last, but the AMA before that, the Mythical Society AMA we do every month. Somebody asked what I was listening to, and I told them what we were listening to. I'm gonna make it a recommendation. Zephaniah Ohora. This guy channels Merle Haggard, and he's like, I'm not telling you anything you don't know because we discovered this guy. He channels Merle Haggard on these vintage country music tracks. He's out of Brooklyn.
It's pretty phenomenal.
My favorite song, We Planned to Have It All, is like an early 80s Merle. He usually goes like some of the earlier Merle, but we really like that early 80s Merle, not the like early 70s Merle. We love it, but that's our sweet spot. We Plan to Have It All is the song that I am recommending by Zephaniah Ohora off the album Listening to the Music. Oh man, I gotta get out of this sweatshirt. I just been sweating too much.
And if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast and you have a tendency to just approach people just outside of Vegas.
In the dark.
In the dark to get them to buy or maybe just vote on your photos. Just understand, or buy people's hot dogs. That's your opening line. This is not a good strategy for selling your photos. You frightened at least one family that night. And you're on the verge of being reported. It hasn't happened yet though. It hasn't happened yet. Just know probably next time the next person you approach in this way will probably call the authorities.
Or stab you. and if that person is me, both those things I guess will happen because now I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Hashtag Ear Biscuits. We'll hear about Rhett's amazing solitary experience next time.
Yeah, I didn't run into that guy. Spoiler alert.
To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch the previous episode of Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist to the left.
And don't forget to click on the circular icon to subscribe.
If you prefer to listen to this podcast, it's available on all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for being your mythical best.